Jess Bellamy.
Hello.
Welcome to your very first Association Transformation podcast.
It's a very exciting moment.
Welcome.
Cheers.
So, special podcast. Not only is it our holiday episode, sadly, Andrew's not here because he lives in another country. But Jess Bellamy is the Client Solutions Coordinator Extraordinaire, glue that holds it all together at Brewer Pratt Solutions. So we are having our little company dinner tonight, and we thought, what better time to record a podcast?
It's perfect.
So you were kind of ambushed.
This is my first podcast. I'll be honest.
Of any podcast.
Of any, ever.
Okay, breaking the seal.
Yeah.
And, we have some liquid courage.
We do.
I've always wanted to do a drinking podcast with Andrew, and maybe he's drinking the whole time anyway. I don't know. But it just hasn't worked out. So this will
is the right
set the precedent. But we wanted to do this before we forgot. This is fresh in our mind. We just had the opportunity to help a client with employee search. They are a membership association. So this is the world that we know and clients that we love to serve. And we had quite an experience with this search recently.
There was a lot of candidates.
A lot. And we thought we would end this year and really start the new year with some tips and tricks to help those of you who are looking for a new role, looking to join the association space, with some best practices and maybe some do's and don'ts.
Yes, I'll have some thoughts on that.
She had to go through and catalog all the candidates. So she's probably the most traumatized by the process. But really, this is intended to be helpful. Association transformation is, I think, listened to by everyone from coordinators to CEOs at nonprofit and association organizations. So I think this will be helpful. I hope so, because there's a lot of people looking. There's a lot of movement, and we most often do CEO searches, but this was a more mid-level position. And so it was interesting to get to interview and work with candidates of that level and see who was out there and see how they approached the opportunity. Why don't you give the stats on how many we got?
Oh, okay. Roughly, it's an estimate.
Yeah. Hold on.
We got about 400. We got about 400 people.
That is crazy.
In a very short amount of time, which was surprising. But when you think about the fact that it's a remote position.
Yeah, fully remote. So it opened itself to, anyone domestically. And we actually ended up having to close the application window almost a week early because we were just so inundated, and the client had a timeline of wanting to make an offer by a certain date. So in order to get through this tidal wave of applications, and we launched this, I think, on a Monday morning, and
Monday around noon, I think they started rolling in.
Probably had 100 after 48 hours.
Yeah, it was really fast. I was shocked at how fast, honestly. I thought, I'm used to the exec search, it's not as many people.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it was interesting when originally talking to the client, I had encouraged them to wait a little bit, maybe even after the holidays. And they said, no, let's go for it. We want to push ahead. And I didn't really appreciate, they used this term, how soft the market was.
Oh,
and well, what I took it to mean, and I won't pretend that I know, I won't fake it. I took it to mean that there's a lot of people looking.
Yeah.
That this is, I guess I'll call it an employer's market.
Yeah.
And they were right. I mean, we got this huge tidal wave, and they found the most amazing candidate who will start, in the new year, and excited for that fit and their future. But we closed it early, and we got a lot of interest very, very quickly.
And they're still rolling in.
There's still
people applying, even though even the original date is passed.
Yeah, all stated deadlines have passed.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to, I felt compassionate. I felt empathetic towards what a lot of the candidates were expressing, which was having been out of work for a while, very, very, very interested, willing to do anything, willing to give us whatever we needed. And it was a little heartbreaking at times.
Well, and I saw, a couple that were truly, one person said, please give me a chance, and that's hard because I imagine they've been doing this for a while, and to just keep hitting the walls.
Yeah, it was a lot. And that opportunity, when you see something, I think maybe the first tip is if you see something out there, don't wait. Whether it's on
Yes.
the ASAE webpage, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's just on, on someone's career join us page.
Right.
Put yourself out there quickly.
Well, as I found as I was processing them, right, the ones who came in first, I'm able to process the quickest.
Yeah.
And I have an idea of what we're looking for as we go through. Once I got 2 or 3 days in, there's just so many more and people following up, which we'll talk about that, I'm sure. But it's a lot of emailing from the side of the person who is processing everyone. Mm-hmm. And so, the sooner you get in, the sooner you become an option for us. Right. And you don't have to wait a week or however long us to go through the others.
Because we aren't really a search firm. We only do this with really select clients and those we know really, really well. So we don't have the normal tools and efficiencies. We're not just shoving all these resumes into AI.
Right.
We're actually going through them and reading the cover letters and looking at the resumes and creating kind of a score of eligibility and qualifications. So maybe we don't want to do this all the time, just to make sure the right people get into the right positions for the right clients. But there was a lot of hands-on with these resumes and these cover letters. And I thought the job description was pretty detailed. Mm-hmm. But 400 people right off the bat. So don't wait. Get your stuff in right away. Let's talk about cover letters. I think that's where we got to start.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because people were in the job description and posting, it says to submit a cover letter. But not say that? It said send your resume and cover letter.
Okay.
But not everyone does. And sometimes their email, they use that as their cover letter. And so there's a wide range. I've seen 4 sentences. I've seen nothing at all in the email. Just sending me the attachments. So I don't have any context.
Yeah.
And then I've also seen people who just write a very long cover letter. Pages long, that we will not be able to read fully when in our initial screening.
Sure. So let's talk about our audience who are most likely looking at the ASAE Career Center for their job listings. Okay. So when we or an employer, whomever it may be, posts a position, that page becomes the way that they receive the resumes. So we put information in our job listing that said, hey, you can email your stuff to this address, or someone was able to apply through the ASAE page. And I think that you're given an option to create a cover letter within that ASAE career submission portal. Mm-hmm. It's there for a reason. Use it to your benefit. There is a sweet spot. Do not go over a page on your cover letter, or maybe 3 paragraphs if it's an email. It really should set the stage for your interest in the position, what makes you special, and what we're going to see when we open up the attachments and learn more about you. It doesn't need to be more than that. And so either make it an attached cover letter PDF, or utilize that option in the portal to add some information, add some text before you send it in.
Yes. And I will say we did have a few people who I don't think they fully understood what they were applying for. I'm not sure if they read the posting closely enough.
Yeah.
But they maybe thought the position was with ASAE or with BPS. And so, or some that were just, I have no idea where this random employer came from. I imagine they're just applying for a lot of things.
Yeah.
And they, sometimes you lose that attention to detail.
Yeah. So again, use the cover letter option. Use every opportunity you get to tell your story, but do it with intention. And then we come down to the resumes. A lot of resumes, number one. Mm-hmm. A lot of different variety, a lot of different formats, and we just wanted to share kind of our, favorite things, and maybe the things that weren't as successful when we progressed through the process and presented options to the client.
Right.
I know for me, I see a lot more 1-page resumes, which I know does not serve the most experienced candidates. And people do the sidebar with kind of the links and the bullet points and
Right.
the summary. I appreciate the conciseness, but you got to tell your story. You got to let me
Right.
know what you're good at. I think your pet peeve is when people don't put dates on their resumes.
And yes. So there have been some people who didn't put any dates. They just said, here are some jobs that I worked over the years, which is helpful, but I need to know more about that. How many years did you work there?
Because we're trying to evaluate years of experience in different environments, whether it's a trade association, whether it was a membership association, or associations at all.
Right.
So if we're forced to go to LinkedIn or the internet to try to patch the details of your resume, it becomes a challenge.
It definitely does. I found too, I would prefer that people will think a little bit about the person who has to go through 400 resumes.
Yeah.
So put things high up, draw attention. Actually, sometimes I'm not a fan of the newer resumes, but then in this instance, when they put their education up high on the resume, it's helpful to not have to open. It sounds so tedious, right? Because you open it and then you have to scroll down and then find the thing. And it doesn't sound like a lot of time, but it adds up.
Yeah, I mean, we're pulling back the curtain and sharing with you the real life of running a job search. And we're not HR professionals.
Right.
We're not labor attorneys. I mean, our HR department, who's me, barely approved this. So we're just telling you, layman to layman, from the real world. This is what we experienced. And I think there is a role for AI in the application process. I mean, you should be taking the job description and pulling words out of it and updating your resume for that opportunity. I think AI could be really helpful in that.
Right.
But yeah, we need dates. I was always driven crazy by the people who in their top header, where they give their personal information, where we couldn't tell where they lived. Yeah. I mean, even for a remote position, that's not an absolute necessity, but I'd still like to know what time zone you're in.
Right.
When we're offering you a position that we know the majority of the team is on East Coast time or whatever it may be. One of my pet peeves was when they either didn't include their LinkedIn link or they included their LinkedIn address, but it was not hyperlinked. Right. So I'd have to copy and paste it to kind of go in and dig deeper on them.
Well, here's a question for you. If they don't put a LinkedIn link, does that impact your thought, I guess, in general? Or is it just that the LinkedIn link really gives you this additional context?
Well, when you're going from that first cut, that first review, to deciding who gets invited to interviews or who gets invited to that next stage, I'm going to start digging. I want to know more.
Right.
And LinkedIn, I think for all of us, is the lowest hanging fruit when it comes to your professional path, your professional story. So again, make it easy for the people who are doing this. With that said, I think the other thing that we experienced was, and maybe this is due to the soft market, or people's inexperience with formal job search processes, the follow-up that we received, and I think the often aggressive outreach after submitting a resume. And I thought we were pretty good. I like to put myself in the candidate's shoes. I mean, I never want to ghost anyone. I want people to know what's going on. So immediately after receiving someone's resume and cover letter, we would email them back with a confirmation and let them know something more about the job, whether it was the salary range, whether it was the desired, start time. So our candidates knew what was going on, and maybe that set a tone.
I think some of them knew how much of a rush the employer was to get the person in. And so maybe they thought they were being helpful. But there was one person who said, I'm just following up and let me know what time tomorrow you can have a call, which is pretty presumptive. And it wasn't very far into the process.
Yeah.
So it's very
Even
early
the
on.
application deadline hadn't occurred yet.
Right.
I don't know if I told you this, but I received 3 calls on my cell phone from candidates asking. I mean, that's, and I'm probably the one who's stupid enough to put my cell phone in my email signature. But yeah, I had candidates call me on my cell phone. And anyway, this is not, we're not trying to be critical. We're trying to help. We're trying to give you some insight and perspective into the job search, the job world, because it's hard out there. It is hard out there. And we sympathize. We want the right candidates to not get tripped up by some of this silly stuff.
Right. And, I want to be able, we want to be able to contact you, something as simple as a phone number. A lot of people will just put their email address and not necessarily their phone number. And typically it's not a big deal, but I think if there's something wrong with the email address they put, or we see a candidate we really like and we want to call, we can't.
Yeah. It's 2026. It's the new year. We want all of you to find the right jobs, the right fit. We want all of those associations and nonprofits with openings to find the right candidates. And it's not a bad thing to be enthusiastic and aggressive and assertive, but you have to read the room.
Right.
And you really need to read the materials provided. And that includes the deadline, that includes any conveyance of the expectations for the role start. Our search was confidential, so candidates were not able to Google or research the employing association until after they were invited to interviews.
Which I think says something about the job market as well, is all these people are applying, 400 people applying, and they don't even know who they would be working for at that time.
Right. It was interesting. So I did the person-to-person interviews, which were both phone and virtual. And I did a good old-fashioned phone calls, which were nice. But like we talk about in association membership value, you have to know your pitch. You have to know what your value is. Don't reread me your resume when I'm asking you what your superpower is or why you're a great fit. I need your elevator pitch. I need to know the return on investment, the value add that you will bring to the organization. Practice. Prepare for interviews. Some of my candidates kind of seem taken by surprise.
Okay.
And I also want a candidate to ask me questions.
Well, and I was always taught that in college, right? Years and years ago. They're not just interviewing you, you're interviewing them.
Correct.
And so I always took that to heart when I was looking for jobs as well.
Yeah. Even if you already know, maybe plan a question that is strategic or demonstrates some research, and don't let them off the hook too easily. Ask a real question. Again, even if it's one you already know. But this process was really eye-opening, and one that we end the year on knowing that we got the right candidate in the right position for this organization. Excited to see it, but something we don't do very often. So maybe if you're doing searches all the time, or even if you've been searching for a while and you want to share with us your experience or some of the lessons learned that you have, please shoot us an email. We can ask Andrew what this all looks like in the UK and on the other side of the pond in terms of job searching.
Yeah.
But it was an eye-opener. It was an eye-opener, and maybe the biggest upside was that 400 people wanted to work in associations.
Yeah, it was amazing. That many people coming in so quickly.
Yeah.
And such a range of experience. I mean, that's the other thing. We had some people who have never worked in this space, but then you had some who had been in it for decades.
Correct. So I love to see the future of associations strong, knowing that there are opportunities, there are people who want to come into this space. And so that was uplifting and how it all worked out. But we want all of you, whether you're searching, whether you're about to search, whether you're just always kind of looking, to know what we experienced and to have a better search journey moving forward. So I'll also take this opportunity to thank Jess for all her work with Brewer Pratt Solutions. Thank Andrew. Sorry, we miss you, Andrew. We'll kind of use our elf on the shelf as our Andrew representative. But to a new year, to even more association transformation, and to a great job search if that's what you have going on. So until next time, put your members and your mission first.